You watched the Jordan Peterson, Kathy Newman interview. What did you think?
Ooh, my whole body contracted, and I felt so sad for womanhood. I felt disappointed, and I could see how the shadow part of womanhood was acting out. I could see how the collective rage was acting through Kathy Newman. And this is what happens, is that when that's unowned, it's projected blindly onto wherever it sticks. And it was very clear that she already had an agenda, and she already had a projection that she was just looking to stick. She was just looking to have that confirmed. So I felt, on behalf of women, I felt sad and disappointed, because we need to have intelligent conversations.
And I also want to say that this isn't, even though the specific example is the Kathy Newman Jordan Peterson interview, it's not specific to Kathy Newman. I think the fact that that interview has resonated with so many people, that it's been so popular, shows that actually something archetypal was going on in that interaction. Absolutely. And I think as well, why it's gone viral is a lot of people watching it recognize those dynamics. They're like, I've been in conversations like that. Yeah. I've been in this conversation where nothing I say works, where nothing I say gets through. Yeah. So there's something sort of fundamental about the masculine feminine dynamic that's going on in there. What do you think that is?
I think Jordan Peterson, he's every man. Kathy Newman, she's every woman. I can tap into that rage like this. I know it in myself. And women that say they don't, they're just denying it, because it is in the collective. So in that sense, it just highlighted what's there. It's wonderful, because here we really get to look at, why is this so important? Why is it so important to listen to a thinker like Jordan Peterson and take it seriously and say, what can we do with it? It's just so obvious that it's needed, because if this is where we are, if this is where society and culture is, if this is the ability to have an intelligent conversation, then we are in trouble. I really feel that there is this collective subconscious rage that is just boiling in women. And it's coming up in so many ways. We see in the media, and what's going on is this unowned rage that comes up in many different ways. And on one hand, it needs to come out. We need to clear it. It needs to be expressed. It needs to be acknowledged. On the other hand, it's not enough. This is breaking the ice, so that the next step of evolution can, consciousness can start coming through. And that's what I'm lacking in women. It's really to take responsibility for what we do as women, in our manipulation, in our seduction, in our control. And it's so easy for women to say, but that's just because we're angry and men did this and patriarchy. But it's such a lack of responsibility, and this women really need to know.
I mean, that's the kind of shadow work, is the acceptance that we all have shadows, that men certainly have a shadow. There is a shadow around masculinity, but there's also a shadow around femininity. And while part of the cultural conversation now is toxic masculinity, and everyone knows what you mean by toxic masculinity, if you talk about toxic femininity, everyone still knows what you mean, but you can't have that conversation, which is, it's interesting what is allowed to be said and what is not allowed to be said at the moment. And that I think is very dangerous, that certain topics, certain conversations are off limits.
Yeah. And this is where we see the victim persecutor dynamics activated, because women become the victims, and we make ourselves the victims, and we persecute men, but in that aggression, in that rage. And when we're the victims, we are in perfect control. We become the persecutors, because we say, it's all about blame. Men did this, and men need to take responsibility, but in that we become the persecutors.
And it's also very difficult as well, because one imagines that that combative attitude is something that has served her well in the past, and it's something that she's maybe felt forced into because of the nature of the society that she's operating in. So it's a kind of catch-22 situation for many successful women, because they feel that they're pushed to be more masculine.
Yeah.
And then when they're more masculine, they get judged for being more masculine.
It's very sad. And I can see that dynamics being played out, absolutely. But I think the only thing we can do is to take responsibility and say, okay, I'm doing that. Do I really want to compromise my femininity? Do I want to compromise my integrity? Do I want to compromise my gender and play that? Or is there another way that I can be powerful without being aggressive, without playing a power game, but resting in my natural power, resting in my natural dignity, resting in that deep rootedness that we both have in our genders, that when we are at peace with that and when we acknowledge it in ourselves, it's there as a natural thing. And this is the thing, I don't want to make this personal about Kathy Newman, because it's in that potential is in every woman, but it's because we are persecuting our own femininity. What's being played out there, we're doing it to ourselves because we don't trust that it's good enough to be a woman. We don't trust that we can have conversations that come from a felt, embodied perspective. We don't trust that we're connected to truth, because these masculine ways have been very strong, and women have been denying their own power.
In my work, over many years of working with this, I find that very few women grew up in households which really loved, admired, respected, honored, cherished the feminine. And so there is intrinsically, for so many of the women who've grown up in the, the last 100 years, let's say, a kind of devaluation of the feminine that gets taken on. And of course, and as well as abuse, aggression, all sorts of things. So very many women, out of an intelligent strategy to survive, develop their masculine side as a defense against that devaluation for the feminine. And over time, they become very identified with that masculine side.
The male equivalent is anima possession.
In anima possession, it's the loss of relaxed confidence and groundedness in the masculine, and is overwhelmed by his own inner feminine side, and it creates a passive, withdrawn, moody, bitchy, complaining, not showing up kind of guy, which I think is really so much what feminists are angry about. I don't see them as really angry about the masculine per se, but the way that males behave. And, I have quite a lot of compassion for that, because for myself and most men that I know, we weren't really shown how to be as men. We didn't really get initiated into it. And then this strong thing comes from feminism, and we feel like it's maleness that's wrong, and it's not. It's not maleness that's wrong. I don't even think feminists hate the masculine. It's like what the call is really for men is to develop their masculine strength, presence, courage, be relaxed and confident, be protective, and be strong. And under this kind of assault, which has come from a lot of animus-possessed women, a lot of men have retreated and I think gone into feeling guilty about being men, and have become passive, indecisive, and in that way, a kind of feminized man has emerged.
Those who followed Peterson's thought recognise his analysis goes all the way down to the bedrock, to the archetypal structures of consciousness itself.